you're getting the original 3. So I'm gonna make a comment about that. But the original 3 that started the show are the 3 co-hosts tonight. So
all right,
there's little something special tonight.
That's right.
That truthfully has never happened before. The first 3 on the podcast have never been the only 3 on the podcast. So that'll be a first. So those of you that are watching or tuning in to the video recording, we call this Stormfront Freaks Raw, because it is just the raw recording. You're going to get all the behind the scenes, all the crap we're going to cut out later. You're getting all of that if you're watching the raw recording. But welcome, no matter what, welcome. So, all right. So, what's your plan for the summer, Ashley? You got vacation plans or what?
I wish. So
really? Vacation time?
Yeah, I just took a new job in February. So as a part of that, we have a 6-month probationary period where they kind of don't let you take vacation. So I'm struggling through it because I came and I kind of worked 9 to 10 months at the previous job, which was my first EM job, but I didn't take any vacation. So I kind of went straight from that job into this job. So it's been over a year since I've taken some vacation. So in the fall, as soon as I hit that 6 months, I think I'm going to take a few days off and kind of recharge.
Yeah, for sure.
So why'd you move?
So my first position was grant-based. So it was guaranteed 12 months. And then I got a couple extra month extended on that. But I love the Central Texas area so much. I didn't want to risk having to just have to pick up and leave. So luckily, a small town in the same county I was working for just made a new EM position that was basically the same caliber EM level that I was doing, and it's not grant. So it's full time. I'm not, worried about getting cut in 12 months or anything. So I really lucked out. So instead of a 10-minute commute, I've got a 20-minute commute, but I still get to live here and continue to get that experience.
Nice.
Yeah.
So it's close though. It was close to your other one.
Yeah. It's like I said, in the same county. So I live in Georgetown, so that's in the middle of the county.
Okay.
And then Leander is just kind of to the west.
Got it.
About 10 minutes, 20 minutes.
Got it. Okay.
Not bad.
So how are your Carolina brothers and sisters doing?
Great. I guess.
Are you the only female in that group?
Yes.
So okay, your brother's in. Sorry.
Yep. So they're doing great. I think they're getting some storms right now. We always have kind of a running joke about marginal risks, especially in their area, because it seems like every time they get a marginal risk, they get some pretty decent storms over there. And it's kind of the same thing for us, because I was actually kind of looking at our severe weather season this year, and we've had more warnings during marginal outlooks than slight, which is fascinating to me. Down here in Central Texas. It's so much different than the plains and Lubbock and all of that, where pretty much if you're going to get severe storms, you're going to have watches first, usually. Down here, no. So I'm trying to learn that dynamic down here with how severe weather works.
Yeah.
No. Mm-hmm. Wow, Maz, I texted you and 2 seconds later, there you are.
Sorry, just walked in. This is what we call flop sweat, right?
Oh my God.
Broadcasting world. Oh my gosh.
Beautiful. Where's the powder?
What's that? Yeah. I wonder if I still have some.
Makeup.
Days.
Makeup.
This isn't network. You can hear me okay?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. You're good. You look good. Everything looks good. All right. Well, let's
Hi, Ashley.
Hi.
How you doing?
Doing great. How are you?
I am awesome.
Good.
Let's do this. Let's run through the checklist and what's going on here before the first break. So just a reminder, mute your phones. Ashley, and you guys use Hangouts, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you know how to mute your mic, all that good stuff if you have to.
Yes.
Just a reminder, keep your mic close to you. Don't bump the table if your mic is on the table. So what we'll do the Ashley, we'll do the intro. I'm going to share the whole new intro and outro song that we've got. cover Helicity Designs, and then we'll introduce the team. I've got a couple musical bits to share when we do that, when we do our What Are You Drinking part. And then Maz, you're doing the intro, correct?
Intro
for Ashley?
Well, let me find that.
Ah,
Where would that
fun.
be?
Let you find that and study up on that.
That's called pre-reading in the industry, isn't it?
Yeah,
I
didn't know
sent
it was even
so
there.
you should have the agenda. It's on the agenda, as well as I just sent you the script today, so you should have the script too. Either one of those will have that. So we'll go through, Ashley, kind of question and answer, chit chat, and then we'll jump to the lightning round, and that'll be the close of the first segment. Will be the lightning round. We'll take. I'll quick plug the Mid-Atlantic ChaserCon. Then we'll take a break, and then we'll kind of reconnect at the break. Okay, and then Ashley will come back, do the discussion. That's where we'll kind of talk a little bit more about the Voss groups and things of that nature. And then we should probably finish that segment maybe around the top of the hour, so maybe 60 minutes total. And then at that point, you're welcome to stick around if you want to stick around for our Weather Fools and WX Resources, or you can take off at that point after that second break. That's up to you. All right.
Ashley, are you in Texas or the Carolinas?
I am in Texas. Central
Awesome.
Texas. So
Awesome.
just north of Austin.
But you're Carolina Weather Group podcast, right?
Yeah. So I
Okay.
think they brought me on because they found out that I do EM. So
Yeah,
we have
I'll
a
ask
lot
you
of
about that.
yeah, we have a lot of guests that we're always talking to about disasters and stuff. And I try to plug in the more emergency response, emergency management side. And then with the weather background, I kind of mesh it. So
Can you, Maz, can you move your camera a little bit? Your chin's touching the bottom, or yeah, sit up.
Sorry,
One of
I
the
was
two.
slouching. It's the heat, man.
Hey,
It's like Texas in here.
Mhm.
Phil, can you turn your mic down just a little bit?
Yes, I'm gonna turn the gain down a little. Okay, how's that? Is that any better? Sound any better?
No, I think
Less
that
hot.
might work.
Okay.
I'm just concerned again that when you get excited, it's gonna push us off.
I get
the-
loud. I get
Get
crazy.
loud.
Hands
Ew.
start flying all over the place. Okay.
right,
Is
I
it
think
sound
that's-
hot now?
No, I think that's
We're
good.
good. Okay. All right. Well, let's. I think we're ready. Go ahead and get started. MJ can count me in.
All right, here we go. In 3, 2, 1.
All right, hey everybody, welcome to the most entertaining weather podcast on your listening and viewing device. This is the Storm Front Freaks podcast, of course. But if you're a first-time listener, thanks for stopping by. Be sure to go to stormfrontfreaks.com. Check out our library of previous shows and famous guests from the weather industry. Tonight, this is episode 55. And for the first time, we're finally getting an emergency manager on our show. So we've got Ashley Morris. She's an EM down here in South Central Texas. She is also the podcast co-host with our friends Carolina Weather Group. But we'll be discussing with Ashley the topic of Voss groups. And if you're like me at first, you might have thought, well, what the heck is that? Well, we'll be talking about that. We're also going to cover communicating with the public following hurricanes and other disasters. And then don't forget, stick around for our lightning round, our WX Resources, Weather Fools, and whatever the three of us can also come up with tonight. And I'll talk about that as well. Before we get to that, let's share some news with you. First and foremost, we have come to a decision on our new podcast song. So if you've been listening the last few episodes, we've received entries from Gabe Cox and Brett Epstein. We played those both last episode. We've decided, here's what we're going to do. We're actually going to be using both of those songs starting soon. So Brett's, we're going to use his for the intro, and Gabe's is going to be used for our outro, kind of similar to how we have two different songs currently. We actually have two different tunes if you listen all the way through. We wanted to get all of Gabe's song and his sound effects in the show. So if you actually listen to his song, it sets up better because there's some drinking sound effects at the end as well as the beginning. There's like a cool warning siren. Ashley, you'd appreciate that. There's a warning siren kind of in the middle that's pretty cool. But we wanted to be able to play that at the end, get its entirety there. And then we're going to be using Brett's. It's a banging song that works great as a start off and also works great to allow the voiceover that we'll have at the beginning as well. So you'll be hearing those soon, probably in the next couple episodes. We'll have those all edited and ready to go. So thanks to both Brett and Gabe for helping us out there. Also, check out the latest weather-themed fashions and accessories at HelicityDesigns.com. If you're a weather fan and you're listening to us, I'd be shocked that you're not aware of HelicityDesigns.com. But while you're there, check out the exclusive line of Stormfront Freaks podcast shirts, hats, and drinking containers. There's more to come, too, along that line. Justin's been great. But here's the key. Listeners, you guys can get a 5% discount on your entire order when you use the code PODCAST, PODCAST. Use that code at checkout. Your entire order is going to be 5% off. You can find that all at HelicityDesigns.com. So we're going to go ahead and introduce the team. So many of you are may or may not be familiar with the fact. I'm going to play a little song. You may or may not be familiar. The first three members of the Stormfront Freaks podcast it was me, and then I talked my brother Mark Johnson, MJ, into coming on board.
Yes, you did.
And then we went to Mark Massaro, Maz, and we asked him, because he had a weather background, if he wanted to come on board. So we were the first three, and this is the first show we've had the first three ever on. So I wasn't sure if I should play Three Amigos, if this was maybe the option to play. Or the other thing I was thinking was if you're fans of the movie Hangover,
and we're the three best friends that
I
anybody could
figured
have. We're the three best friends that anyone
was
could
an
have.
option.
We're the three best
but
friends.
regardless,
that anyone
we
could
got
have.
the
I will
three
never,
originals
ever,
on,
ever.
and so let's find out what they're drinking. MJ, I'm going to go to you.
Yeah, of course, after all that, I'll sort of disappoint you with the fact that I've just got straight up Coca-Cola in a Stormfront Freaks color changing glass.
Oh, but you got the glass.
I did.
Yeah.
You got the glass. So that works. Maz, how about you?
Well, not to be even more disappointing, but,
Oh, wow.
Oh, no.
I'm the only one drinking tonight.
but apparently I have chocolate milk upstairs. I have no idea. I literally just ran in, so you're lucky I'm dressed at the moment.
Chocolate milk upstairs. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that'll still be there at
Wait-
break. You can head
Wait
back
for
up.
Vanna White to bring it down. Vanna.
Yeah. Well, let's do this. So now that you've heard the original three, let's get to our esteemed guest who's wondering what the hell we're doing right now.
Probably.
Maz, I'm going to turn it over to you to introduce Ashley.
We're always wondering what we're doing too. So Ashley, don't worry. Hey, Ashley is an emergency management planner in South Central Texas. Now she assists with the creation and maintenance of disaster plans, as well as the coordination of city exercises and educational outreach campaigns. Ashley is also a weather liaison for her office. Besides that, this entails weekly or event-oriented weather forecasting, communication with the National Weather Service out of Austin, San Antonio, cool places, by the way, and weather event monitoring. Her first emergency management activation was for Hurricane Harvey this past August. Ashley received her master's in geography with an emphasis in natural hazards from Texas. I didn't even know they had that. And at Texas Tech University in December of 2016. She's also a co-host on the Carolina Weather Group podcast. So welcome, Ashley. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me on.
Awesome. So master's in geography and emphasis in natural hazards. What is all that? I know the geography side because that's where I went through. But what encompasses natural hazards?
Yeah, so basically natural hazards geography is basically we're looking at maps, we're looking at location, but we want to see where those natural hazards are occurring, and we're tying in technology such as GIS. So I did a lot of GIS mapping, learned the software, and then I was able to do quite a bit of research in disasters, because surprisingly, our disaster researchers come out of the natural hazards geography side of things. So my thesis that I did was on tornado social vulnerability. So I was trying to figure out characteristics of people and their demographics, how that can actually influence how prepared people are and how they respond and how they recover, because demographics kind of make up our experiences and who we are. So I kind of used geography to be able to put that on a map. And then I was able to do some surveys and stuff to see how many people had tornado shelters, things like that. So that's kind of one side of what my education was.
Well, yeah. And then the emergency manager. So is that just one aspect of being an EM, or what all does an EM do?
So emergency management is huge. It's a very daunting field, I guess you could say. We're in charge of doing a lot of things. So number one, I always tell people we're responsible for preparedness, response, recovery, and mitigation when it comes to disasters, whether it's big storms, but also we have to cover the other things such as man-made disasters. So hazmats, terrorism. So we have to be very open-minded and very educated on a wide variety of topics. Most of our disasters are natural hazards, though, so that's why my background really helps with that. But I mean, being an EM, we're writing plans, we're building relationships, which is the most important thing, because when you have a disaster, there are so many agencies that are involved. And for communication and everything to go flawlessly, you have to have those relationships. And then after that, you're doing exercises, and we're reaching out to the public, and we're working on warning systems and making sure we have the right technology. So it's like every day I walk in the office and I'm like, man, I've got oodles and oodles of things to do. So it's very.
Is this Ashley? Is this a growing career, job opportunity wise, and everything?
Yes. So that's something really cool about this field too, is that emergency management has been around for a few decades, but it was never really defined as a specific career until 9/11. So after 9/11 kind of happened, and we realized that when you have such a huge incident with that kind of scale, we really need somebody to coordinate all of the responders and all of that. So, like Homeland Security, the department was created, and then we kind of funnel down from there. So interestingly enough, it's been not even 20 years. So it's definitely growing, and we're still trying to define what an EM is, because some EMs come straight from public safety. So a lot of the people, they're a police or a fireman or EMT, EMS. They do that for a while and then come over. But now we're starting to see a change in EM where people are going to college and kind of studying emergency management and the techniques. And then on top of that, even more rare is people kind of going through science stuff. So going to school for meteorology, you're trying to bring the science of the natural disasters into our field. So it's very growing. And I would say, your background can vary greatly right now, which is a great opportunity for weather people.
Yeah. So I know what an EM is. That's electromagnetic. So do you attract a lot of? No, I'm just
yeah, of course.
It is unique though, that EMs, there's not a lot of them obviously that have a weather education that I'm familiar with. And I might be off base in assuming that, but the ones that I'm familiar with, that's really, there's not a lot of weather education in their background. So I guess, why is that unique, and how have you used that to your advantage?
So kind of like what I was saying, a lot of EMs come out of first response. So they understand kind of how to deal with big disasters or incidences, and they understand the structure, how to kind of handle that and stuff. But a lot of them don't have that weather background. And like I was saying, our field is so new, we're trying to define what kind of background and experience you should have. So there's no set rule on, weather education or anything like that for now, although there are a few select handfuls of us, especially on Twitter when we talk about it, that would like to push for that. Because in my mind, coming from a weather background and being educated in it and all of that, I would not feel comfortable making decisions without having that background. So I think that me understanding the dynamics of weather, the formation of weather, and understanding how it all works helps me feel confident in my decisions and understand what I'm making a decision for. So hopefully that will be something we can push into the field in the next decade.
So, what would you say percentage wise is natural and man made versus weather when it comes to the disaster side of things?
So could you repeat the question?
Sure. So, if you're encompassing natural disasters,
Yeah.
weather, man made, what percentage is weather as opposed
Oh.
to everything else? Sorry, I probably
So-
phrased it the wrong way.
I would probably say 70 or 80, 30, 20, because we do have a lot of situations that are spills or even fires, which fires are still kind of natural, but human can cause them. So there's kind of some overlap. But I would definitely say like the majority of the ones that we're going to be responding to are definitely weather. And that's why I think it's number one importance to kind of teach on that too, but then also learn the other stuff, especially too, a big one in our field that's very new is cyber. So we're starting to see a lot of issues with cybersecurity and cyber terrorism and stuff like that. Well, that's really important, especially in government, because we're using all of these technologies and stuff that need to be secure. And that kind of happened a few months ago in Atlanta with them getting hacked and everything. So that's something too that we have to bring back into our preparedness box and learn how to plan and do all that.
So Ashley, how big an area are you responsible for? How does that work in Texas and elsewhere?
So in Texas and pretty much everywhere, there are lots of different levels of emergency managers, just like there's different levels of government. So usually you'll see a city level. If the city is large enough to kind of have that position, you'll have a city. And for a city, which I'm working for a city right now, you're basically in charge of your limits. So all the people that live in your jurisdiction, that's kind of where you live. And then the next step up from that's going to be your county. So the county oversees most of the rural places that aren't in a city, but they also might be in charge of the smaller towns that are really tiny. They don't quite have the funding for a position. And then their job too is they still are really crucial in city EM, because as soon as we become overwhelmed in an incident, we have to reach out to the county and say, hey, like this fire is too big for us to handle. Can you help us? And they'll start kind of coordinating with the other jurisdictions. After county, you go up to state. So I'm lucky living kind of so close to Austin that TDEM, or the Texas Department of Emergency Management, is right down the road. So once again, you go up to the county. When the county's overwhelmed, they reach out to the state. The state starts to kind of coordinate. And then if the state is overwhelmed, they reach out to FEMA or the federal. So that's kind of the 4 different tiers of emergency management.
So, if you live outside the county and the state's busy, sorry guys, right?
A little bit, maybe. Nah.
So tell us a little bit, what have you faced so far in your shorter career, obviously in that role, but tell us some of the things you faced down in Texas.
Yeah, so severe weather is obviously a big one. Thunderstorms. My jurisdiction has a really big issue with lightning strikes with houses, and then they catch on fire. So
No
there
kidding.
was one time,
Really?
yeah, there was one time we had just a general thunderstorm move through. It wasn't anything special or anything, but there were 7 structure fires from lightning at the same time.
Wow.
And when you start dealing with fire departments and stuff like that, like it's a lot of resources to send out to one structure fire. If you start to have 7, then yeah, we started getting a little ramped up, because we might have to start borrowing engines from other places, but they were able to kind of get that under control. So lightning, hail, spin up tornadoes. That's a really big deal down here, because tornadoes just don't work the same down here like they do up in the plains. They're not really supercell based. They're spin up real quick. Obviously, they're mostly lower end, but I got extremely caught off guard a few weeks ago by just this plain little thunderstorm, and it didn't look good, like anything. And nobody really was calling for anything that day. We might have been borderline marginal, and we totally had a spin up EF1 that I think it was on the ground like 25 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah, and it
EF1,
clipped.
wow.
It clipped my jurisdiction and moved north, and it was so small that NWS had a hard time even finding it in the beginning, because it was on the ground, I think, about 11 minutes before they put the warning out. So that's really tricky, severe weather down here.
Yeah.
And then lastly, kind of wrap it up, we live in Flash Flood Alley. So flooding is a huge deal. When we get tropical systems up here, we're concerned about flooding. So that's kind of where the whole Harvey experience came in, because I had to kind of monitor for the inland flooding for that.
So
Wait,
tell us about. I'm sorry, Mass. Tell us a little bit about Harvey. What was the impact for you guys, and what did you have to step in and do?
So with having the weather background, part of my job is I create weekly impact-based emails. So I look at over all the weather data. I see what NWS is saying. I read their AFDs and things like that. I look at my own data, make sure it all makes sense. And then I kind of mold that together to make an impact-based forecast, which doesn't have any jargon. I don't talk about upper, level lows and everything like that, because our fire chiefs and the people we're working with don't care about the lingo. They just want to know, is it going to rain, when, how much? So I kind of try to mold that for them. So I was already doing that for Harvey at least a week or two in advance, because we saw it out in the Gulf for a while and it looked like it wanted to kind of swing over the Yucatan and come up. So I was briefing my partners the entire time, and it's my job too to coordinate with NWS and then deliver that message to my partners and the other emergency managers. So I had to do a lot of conference calls for the county and give weather briefings and do all of that. So for my county, we got really lucky because we were on the cusp. We had a dry slot where there was basically rain bands north of us and rain bands south of us, and a perfect little dry area right over our county. And if Harvey would have moved up north a little more, we probably would have flooded out like everyone else. But we only got a handful of inches. It was less than 6 for sure. But forecasting that was scary because the models would change and flip-flop, and then the gradient from 4 inches to 15 inches was so close together, and I just didn't know exactly where that gradient was going to line up. So
Did you have any flooding at all?
No, we really lucked out.
Okay.
I mean, we got probably a little bit of street flooding and some river swelling, but for the most part, that break in between bands saved us. And then it was a slower rainfall rate. If we would have got like the 4 or 5 inches really quick, we probably would have had a bigger deal, but it was spread out over the 24 to 36 hours. So as soon as we kind of saw we were going to be okay and we didn't have any existential damage or anything, we kind of shut down. But then we started shipping our resources down south because they were making the requests for that, especially like Houston and everything like that.
So an event like that, how many different departs and jurisdictions and all that do you then work with? Is it just insane? Like you got 17 different departments and you're like, you guys wait over here. And how does that all work?
It is absolutely insane. But what we try to do to better communication between all these departments is we have what we call is our Emergency Operations Center, which is our EOC. So basically, this is like a giant conference room where you have tables, and then you will have one leader or member from an organization at each seat. So I might have a law enforcement liaison, and then I'll have a fire representative, an EMS representative, Public Works, because we need Public Works, Red Cross, they're really big, the local school district, because usually we'll use them for shelters. So like at the county I worked at, we had 4 tables, and I think we probably had at least 36 seats. So those could all be filled up. It really just depends on how big your disaster is. If it's huge, obviously you're going to have more impacts and more groups. And then when you start calling in county resources and county help or state or federal, well, you'll have a FEMA person in there, you'll have a state person in there. So depending how bad your disaster is how many departments you have to work with. But
and one of the TVs in the background's on the Texas game the whole time, right?
Oh, of course.
Of course, yeah. I mean, you got to have that in the background. Catch the score every once in a while.
Yeah.
So on those big events, were you there for like days and days, had a cot in the back, or how does that all work?
So yeah, we prepare because we're all about preparedness. We write the plans and we do the drills. So we are prepared in our Emergency Operations Center to be able to do that. We have cots. So if we had an ice storm or something and we weren't allowed or couldn't leave, we have a designated area that people can get sleep. Traditionally, how these things work is you usually do a 12-hour shift. So if we're going to activate the EOC, and that's what we started doing with Harvey, but we didn't activate until I want to say it was 6 a.m. that Saturday, because we didn't see any impacts up here until then. So I was going to work a 6 to 6, which I did. And then the next shift would come in and do a 6 to 6. And then you would rotate. And luckily, hopefully, you have enough people to do kind of a 12 on, 24 off. But sometimes there are EMs that don't get sleep for 24 hours, 36 hours, which starts to get a little rough because when you get tired, you're not going to be able to make good decisions.
That's what Pop-Tarts are for.
Yeah. Well, and actually we have Go
Red Bull.
kits. So I have an emergency kit that I can take in there, and it has snacks and all of that stuff because I'm supposed to be prepared to be able to be in there. So Pop-Tarts is one of the things that I keep in my bag.
What flavor? What flavor?
Cherry.
Yes. That's why we like you. Yes.
Cherry for the win.
So tell us how'd you get hooked up with the Carolina Weather Group podcast, living in Texas?
Yeah, so interestingly enough, I am a huge fan of Twitter and using it to talk about my weather nerdism. So I'm always talking about meteorology stuff, weather stuff, emergency management stuff. And I think I got in a debate with another meteorologist, friendly debate, over social media, because I'm very passionate about the opportunities that we have with social media in my field, but in meteorology too. I think we can really use it to our advantage. So we were talking and it was getting a lot of hits and everything. So Scotty actually reached out to me and was like, hey, like that was an interesting discussion. Like we'd like to have you on as an emergency manager, because they have done a couple shows with EMs local there. But he was interested in me being an EM down here because I had a little bit of a Harvey experience. And then I just had that weather EM background. So I got to do my own interview on their show. And he was like, hey, you should stick around and be a panelist. So I was like, great. Because I never actually ever did a podcast before then. So that's kind of how I got hooked. So I'm the EM rep
Now you're
of
pro.
Carolina.
And
Yeah.
you were like, yeah, I don't have enough going on my plate. I think I could do that too.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you have like a down week ever in Texas as an
No.
EM?
Well, lately it's been kind of boring. Like I'm one of those people, I don't really like the whole dry, hot weather with no clouds. Like I like storms. That's kind of why I got into the whole weather thing. So I would say the past few weeks have been pretty blah, pretty boring. But the thing is it's not as much downtime as a meteorologist would have, because I can be more relaxed that there's not storms, but on the other side of that, wildfires. So I've been watching for that because our fuel is getting really dry and other risks too. So like heat stroke and stuff like that we might see around here might be a big deal, especially in our vulnerable populations. So it's a little bit of a break, but you still can't be caught off guard with some of the risks that you get with that.
Well, good. Well, tell us, Ashley, and tell our listeners, how can they find you and follow you on social media?
Yeah, so like I said, I'm huge on Twitter. So you can just go ahead and find me, Ashley Morris. I think it's at Miss Ashes 92. So MISS and then Ashes, ASHES 92.
What's the 92 for?
The year I was born.
Ah,
Wow.
good.
Hey.
Well, yeah, you know how it is. Like you can never change your handle, and I
Yeah.
made that. I was very, I guess not so mature yet.
Whatever, who
I wish
cares?
I could have changed it.
Only
Kinda
morons
cliche.
like me are going to ask that question anyway, so it
right.
doesn't matter. All right, well, tell you what, hey, it's time for our lightning round. This is our game show of brilliant questions for our guest, and we always invite everybody to play along. Tonight, we are going to play a little family feud with you, Ashley.
Okay.
So I've been told that you have a pet, or you have a what? Or you like pets? What's?
I just got a dog, so I'm surprised that he hasn't made any noise yet. But,
Okay.
Good dog.
yeah,
Good dog.
Very cute. His name is Bandit. So he's been around for 3 months.
Good. Okay. How and what kind of dog is it?
What kind of dog is it? It's a
Yeah.
weird mix, but he looks very much like a miniature border collie, but he has a weird curved tail because I actually got him from the pound, so I
Okay.
don't have the paperwork. But
I was going to say, when people repeat your question, what kind of dog is he? They don't know what kind of dog it is.
That's right. That's right. All right. So good old Family Feud. Here's what we're going to do, Ashley. We're going to pit you against our freaks, which is Maz and MJ, our freaks tonight. And MJ, you got to play. So we're two separate families. So here's what we're going to do. It's just on one thing. It's this is from the top10s.com. It's the top 10 best house pets. The top 10 best house pets. So Ashley, I'm going to start with you to pick one, and then I'm going to go to the freaks to pick one. Whoever gets the highest one out of the top 10 can choose to take it in hopes of guessing the other ones to finish it up and win it, or can pass it if they're really unsure if they can figure it out before they get their 3 strikes. All right, so Ashley, I'll start with you. Top 10 best house pets are on the board. What do you think?
Let's go bird, or like a parakeet.
Very good. Birds, that is number 6
All right.
on the list. So freaks, I'm going to turn over to you guys. What do you think?
I'm thinking anaconda.
Is that your answer?
Should it be?
Thanks for choosing MJ. There's no anaconda or even snake on the top 10 list. So Ashley, it goes to you. You can either accept it, take it, and hope you get them all before 3 strikes, or you can pass it to the freaks, and they're going to have to do the same.
Oh, so I'd have to get all of them, right?
Or right, because if you don't and you get 3 strikes, it goes to them, and they just have to pick one that's remaining to
Okay,
win.
no, I'll pass it.
But you heard Maz, so
Right, that's true. Well, that's why she's passing, I think. All right, so she is passing. So freaks, you've got still 9 on the board. Birds are gone at number 6. Give me another one. Top 10 best house pets.
Dogs.
Yeah, dog. It's got to be
Dogs. Dogs is number 1 on the list.
Nice.
Good job. I don't have no clue why neither one of you guys got dogs when
Yeah.
especially the one with the new puppy, Ashley.
Something like that.
I was thinking
Okay.
it was like a trick question. Like,
No,
Oh,
okay.
yeah, it is. Okay, we would be remiss if we didn't think of Brady and say cats.
Yeah, that's right.
Cats is number 2 on the list. So you got dogs, cats, and birds are off. Very good. Next up.
What do you think, Maz? Rabbits?
Yeah, I might toss it in there.
All right.
Rabbits is 3rd. So you're
Very
1,
good.
2, 3. You're going right down the list. Good job.
Fish.
Fish is 10. You got number
Ooh.
10, last one on the list. So you still have 4, 5, 7, 8, and 9 on the board. Top 10 best house pets.
You think like turtles or something like that?
Turtles. Let's go with turtles.
Turtles is 9. Very good.
All right.
All right.
Turtles over fish? Really?
Yeah, turtles
Okay.
is 9, fish 10.
I guess they
don't
just
know.
sit there, you know.
All right,
people-
so
do
you
people-
got 4, 5, 7, and 8.
Do people have guinea pigs still? Try
Yeah,
that.
good one.
Guinea pig.
Guinea pigs is number 7.
Good one. Good
You're
one.
ripping them off here.
Yeah, I'm running
No
out
strikes
now.
yet. 4, 5, and 8 on the board.
Spiders.
No spiders. First
Yeah.
strike.
I step on them anyway.
That'd be a bad house pet.
So snakes wasn't there. How about
No.
How about lizards?
Lizards, number 5 on the list.
Ooh.
Very good. So you're down to 4 and 8
4 and 8. What's number 4?
with 1 strike.
Did we do? Oh, is iguana a lizard? It is, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
All right.
Crocodile.
Oh, wow.
I don't know.
Clock is ticking.
Yeah, we're gonna. What's number 4?
All right, that's your
Oh.
second
Number
strike.
2.
You got one more. 4 and 8 are still open.
Hamster.
Oh, good one.
Hamster's number 4. You're down to number 8 left on the board.
Oh boy.
Oh, potbelly pig.
There you go.
That is the third strike. It is not it. So Ashley, it goes back to you. If
Finally,
you can
Ashley
guess
gets it.
what number 8 is, you get all the points. If not, it's going to go back to the freaks. What's number 8? What are we
the
missing?
only thing I can think of was like a ferret.
That is it. It was number 8 was ferret. You got it. That's amazing.
She was Googling.
No.
All right, so that was good. You got dogs, cats, rabbits, hamsters, lizards, birds, guinea pigs, ferrets, turtles, and fish. Very impressive, but Ashley, way to pull it out at the end. That was impressive.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
kind of sweating it. They were on a roll.
That was very. I was sweating it too after the way they were going. That was not bad at all. So anyway, great job, Ashley. Thanks for playing along. Maz, I'm going to ask you this: what are you doing Saturday, October 27th?
Carving pumpkins, I'm guessing.
Okay, well that's one thing you can do.
Is
I
this
would
like another
recommend
top 10?
no, I would recommend you make plans now to attend the first Mid-Atlantic ChaserCon at the Science Museum of Virginia in Richmond. Storm chasers and weather freaks like us will love the lineup of speakers and includes former guests on our show. Catherine Prosiv and Ian Livingston are a couple of the guests that will actually be speaking there, as well as local TV meteorologists and legendary storm chasers. And Mid-Atlantic, Ashley, some of your Carolina weather guys might be dropping in as well. So visit midatlanticchasercon.com. I know that's a mouthful, but midatlanticchasercon, one word.com. You can get more details there. You can register there. It's only $25. They're not allowing walk-ups, so make sure you hurry and register before they sell out. All right, we're going to take a short break. If you're listening to the audio podcast, you get to hear the Titan U Minute with Chris Sanner. Stay right here. We'll be back with Ashley and the guys to talk about hurricane and disaster communication and what the heck are VOS groups. All right. Ashley, well done. First segment. Good job.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome.
Good. Okay.
She's an old pro though, so.
She's
Yeah,
not
that's
old.
true.
1992.
No,
That's
you're
not
right.
old.
That's very
It's
true.
like, oh my gosh,
I can't believe she pulled out ferrets. That was impressive.
that was crazy.
I was thinking that or those weird like sugar glider things.
What?
Oh,
Like they have
yeah.
a little pocket.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Is it
That's
alive?
true, too.
A
Have
sugar-
you ever
I
seen
don't
those
have
little
that.
sugar?
Yeah,
they're
these
like
weird,
little
like-
mice that
Yeah.
are like flying squirrels, but they're much smaller and they got big, cute, big eyes.
Huh.
MJ, you're a little quiet. I don't know if you can turn your end up a little bit.
How is that? Is that better?
Oh
That
yeah.
is better.
Okay,
That is
sorry
better.
about that.
That's all right. Wasn't too
Should've-
bad. It's better
Check.
than, hey, did you listen to last episode's your
Yes, I heard that.
Would you figure out what was going on with your mic?
Nope, no idea.
Okay. That was
Hey, do I have time to get my beverage or not?
Yeah, you do. Go get your
Okay.
chocolate milk.
That chocolate milk.
Hope it's not warm.
All
It's
curdled.
kinda
Your curdled chocolate milk.
Kind of close to his bedtime, so he likes the warm milk.
That's true. Funny stuff. All right. So, Ashley, what we'll do, so we'll get into the VOST talk. And I'll be honest with you, I know very little about it. So that was definitely something one of the big reasons we wanted to have you on was find
Yeah.
out more about what that is.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So we'll just kind of get into a discussion about that. But if you could also, as part of the discussion, we'll talk a little bit about what have been some of the older ways of communicating, following a disaster and communicating with the public and other emergency personnel, and how is this an improvement? How are we getting better? What are still the challenges? Unfortunately, I don't have a whole lot to add to that discussion, but I will certainly ask a lot of questions.
Sure.
And Maz too. If as we talk about communicating following a disaster, certainly you could chime in a little bit on your background with what was the role of television
Sure.
in trying to communicate with the public. But how did that affect what you guys did if you knew power was out or I don't know. So
Yeah.
So maybe we'll talk a little bit about how things have been, and Maz, I'll maybe jump to you maybe to start a little bit just to talk about what you did in the past or via TV and how you handled that, and then we'll get to Ashley and then get into VOST.
You're going to kick it off though, right? First.
Yeah, I'll
Okay,
get started. And then once we're done with that, we'll take our final break, and then Ashley, at that point, you can, after the break, let us know if you're going to stick around or if you're good. Either way, we're fine.
She got ferret. She got to stick around.
No kidding.
Yeah, really, I agree. All
I
right,
still can't believe ferret beat fish. But
And
whatever.
fish. Yeah, I was surprised. Fish. No,
rock,
it didn't
paper,
beat fish.
scissors. Ferret always beats fish.
Oh yeah, it'd be fish. I thought birds was lower, but yeah, I was surprised fish was 10. Ferrets beat turtles and fish. And I was surprised no snakes. That was a little surprising. Ferrets over snakes.
Because that could have been one
Yeah.
too.
Or
yeah.
turtles even.
Hungry
All right.
ferrets beat cats. So I'm just saying.
All right. I hope all of us, everybody watching our Raw show, I hope you got your drink because I think we're about ready to roll. MJ?
Let's get her going.
All right.
Ready? Here we go. In 3, 2, 1.
All right. Well, hey, welcome back, everybody. One of the biggest challenges I think faced in the event of a disaster is communicating recovery efforts to the public that's affected, whether it's rescue, locating family, pet care, closed zones. I'm sure insurance claims are in there, traffic issues, getting this important information to the emergency personnel and the public affected is always a coordinated effort. So one of the things I wanted to talk about a little bit is to find out what are some of the methods that have been used in the past to try and communicate following, whether it's a big hurricane or something of that nature. What are some of the methods used and where are we going and how are we getting better, especially getting into eventually talking with Ashley about VOST groups. But Maz, I'm going to start with you and your background.
Because I'm old. We're
yes,
going to go back in time,
yeah,
right?
that's
To
usually how
be
it works.
honest, yeah.
We're pull a little Huey Lewis. We're going back in time, and we're going to find. I want to know television, in your role as a television meteorologist. What were some of the things? Did you guys ever discuss that, like following any kind of disaster or weather issue, flooding, tornadoes, stuff like that? How were you involved in getting the word out to the public, especially knowing if there could be maybe power outages going on in the area and they couldn't see TV? How was that involved?
Well, at that point in time, because it was always the media, the TV and radio, but mainly TV in the beginning. They were on high alert. It was wall to wall, 24/7. I don't even think back in the day when we had sign off times, they were staying on. Just because, like after a big tornado with the cleanup, they're constantly updating what's happening. And then part of your group, your audience, is without power, so you don't know really who is hearing you or seeing you and who isn't. So was
that word getting to you at all about like what areas had power, didn't have power? Like, was that any of the information you guys had?
It would trickle in because the news department would always contact, up here it's Duke Energy, but wherever in whatever city you're in, the local power district, they would always have somebody, a department at the power district that would be the liaison for the media. And so they would, do their best as people call in and they figure out where stuff is. And at the bottom, we'd have 220,000 people without power, 300,000, 350,000, whatever it was, it kept going up. And then you don't get the full ramifications until you realize 3 days later, you're still doing this. People are without power, which means no refrigeration, people with medications that need to be refrigerated, people who need electricity.
Right.
Now you start getting all the ancillary problems. So the news crews were just on high alert. And of course, the power districts were constantly pulling people in from all over the country, trying to get, back up on the grid as fast as possible.
Were you remotely, was the TV station remotely then starting to send people to the locations affected? As well?
Yeah. Yeah. And in the beginning, initially, when the severe weather or whatever was going on, you're on the air in the studio with the reporters out there. But as the next day wears on, they would start to send the weather people out to see if they can kind of, without stepping on the weather service's toes, get a feel for, was this an EF3, F4? What do we think it was? And a lot of times we're very careful about what to say. We always wanted to coordinate with the weather service. And I will tell you, most TV stations have a great rapport with the weather service and vice versa. There can always be a rogue station who decides to go out on their own. They're like, oh, look what they're saying, But it was really just, anything you could think of. You're dealing with the airports. You're just pet shelters. I remember when I was in Florida one time for Hurricane Floyd, it was wall-to-wall coverage. And we were talking about, what do you do with your horses? And it was one of those things where I'm like, we don't have a lot of horses in Cincinnati. That's more down towards Lexington. So it was a very big learning experience for all the things in those areas that they would deal with that we don't normally deal with where we were. And so we were actually called down. We were the sister station of WPBF in West Palm, and they would pull people from up here to come down and help them out.
Mm.
So Maz, did the emergency personnel seek you out to get information out, or did you have to go to them?
I think it was always coordinated through the news department. And so they would have usually like the assistant news director would be the one who is the big branching out individual. And so then they would come to us and ask our opinion. But there's always a person in the newsroom that was the liaison for everybody. And because you had to have a chief, just like Ashley being an EM, she had to be the chief there making the decisions on who's going to do what and all of that. I'm kind of curious because I'm trying to remember, when did EMs first start? Yeah, I don't remember that.
So, like I said, there was technically some EM positions in the 60s with or the 60s, 70s, 80s with Cold War and the whole, that's where sirens started, right? Mm-hmm. It was air threats. So there were people who were kind of coordinating that, but it really didn't become a big thing until after 2001 with the whole September 11th thing. So after then, we've really grown a lot because, like I said, that's when Homeland Security was kind of developed, and we've just started being more prepared and proactive to try to stop things than just reactive, because our first responders are more reactive, right? They run to the crime or they run to the threat. So then we started kind of going the other way and then teaching them to do that too. And so we have prevention and preparedness programs now. So
it's crazy too, by the way, when that's all going on. I can only imagine what it's like, Ashley, in your office with everybody there, because I knew what it was like in the TV stations. There's literally people like running down the hallways, and someone slips and papers go flying, and they're trying. That's just the way it was.
Yeah, definitely. And like I said earlier, it's the biggest challenge is coordinating all the people and communication, and then making sure that you're getting the right message out to people. So we actually have procedures and stuff to try to help the media, because the media is a huge player in getting our information out. So we have a PIO, which is a public information officer, usually for the city, that will also be in the EOC. And their job is to say, okay, what do you want me to tell the media? Like, what do you want me to release to the public? What should we release now? And what should we maybe hold on to? So usually we'll tell them, and then they formulate like a pretty little, like either a presser, or they actually do the interview. And then they send that to the media, and usually we'll have like press releases and those pressers where the media can go and listen.
But those are pretty. You said those are pretty?
Well,
like that's an official term?
I say they're pretty because they're very good at formulating that message. Like we might kind of stumble around with what's going on, but their statements are always perfect. So
Ashley, what's something you guys might not or might hold back for a little bit?
Something to kind of hold on might be if we're just not certain of things. So we obviously don't want any sensitive information to get out. Maybe that might be names of victims, or that might be victim numbers. We don't want to misinform the public. So if we're starting to get word of something, maybe fatality numbers or stuff like that, we're going to hold on to that direct number until we can confirm. And you kind of see that a lot with a lot of these really big incidences, is sometimes numbers get out and it's not really accurate. So we just want the public to trust what we're saying. So we would rather kind of hold back on some of the stuff until we're certain to release that, than release it and then it'd be completely false.
So it wouldn't be something like, so should we tell them it was a Sharknado, or what should...
No. I think that we would definitely say Sharknado.
So Ashley, what have been some of the most effective means of communication, whether it's to the emergency personnel or whether it's just to the general public? What's been effective, and what are some of the methods that haven't been so effective, in your opinion?
So with communications, it's very complicated. And if you sit in an AAR, or that's also known as an after-action review.
God, you got all these acronyms.
Yes,
Holy cow.
yes.
I'm trying to take notes.
I'm very impressed.
Too many acronyms. But if you sit in an AAR after an event, because that's what we do, we work an event or an incident, we get in a room afterwards a couple weeks later and we say, okay, like what went wrong? what went right, what are some things we need to change? Like maybe our emergency plan had some holes in it and we thought that it was going to go different. So it's kind of like our assessment period, but every single AAR from every single incident will always tell you communication is an issue. It doesn't really matter what kind of new technology we have. I think it's just kind of the challenge of, like I said, you have so many organizations and so many people, and you're dealing with a very stressful, high impact event. It's just going to be very challenging to communicate. So we have a lot of technology and options for that, but a lot of them fail sometimes, or there's still just gaps in that. For first responders, it's always going to be their handheld radio. So we have those radios that they use every day for their other calls, but we try to make them to where they're interoperable. So if the county has a radio and the city has a radio and they're both out there, we want them to be able to hear each other. Because that was a huge deal with September 11th too, is there was issues between agencies, especially like police and fire. They couldn't hear each other. They couldn't get the channels right. And when you can't coordinate, then it's very dangerous for people who are out there. There were a lot of firefighters at 9/11 that didn't get the message to leave the building, and they had a lot of fatalities because of that. So radios are our go-to for that, and we try our best, but in every incident, there's always a little bit of holes with that.
Ashley, do you have a statewide initiative, or is it already implemented in Texas for interoperability of those kinds of communication?
So I'm still kind of new in the whole EM thing, so I'm not exactly certain of the exact conduct rule or anything, but I know that is something that we hammer home a lot, and we work really closely with like Motorola and the different companies that are doing those things to test them and make sure that they're all working. And another big thing about that too is just doing exercises. So those are like big fancy drills where we pretend that something's happening and we're on our radios and we're coordinating it to test our plan and everything. So it's important that we do that kind of thing too, to see how our radios are going to do. But even then, I mean, if we lose transmitters and stuff, it gets really tough. And we do prepare for that. And we have a great county communications department who they can go out there and put it up, and they have mobile platforms. And then on top of that, we have a great team of volunteers that are ham radio people. So they're in the ARES or the RACES program. So we actually have a spot in the EOC for them too. So if all else fails, we have ham radio.
So tell us. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, MJ.
No, I was just going to say, I was going to ask you about that too, if that still plays a role in your communication plan or not, because we've had a couple of people with amateur radio background on before asking, and talking about that a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. And honestly, they still play a huge role in being active spotters. So a lot of them will activate during severe weather, go out, and they'll get those reports, because a couple of nights ago, we had another one of those rogue storms come through on a borderline marginal day that nobody really thought anything would happen. And I was able to get, I think, a fence blew down, and it was their report. So we're very thankful that they have a passion and the ability to do that. And I got halfway done with it, but I'm trying to get my introduction, I don't know what it's really called, license, I guess.
Technician license, go for it.
Yeah. So I got halfway through it, but I got kind of caught up last summer. I couldn't actually test out, but I'm hoping this year I'll be able to get that, because I just think that it's really important that we understand how it works and how to use it if we need to have it.
MJ, you should hold her accountable just to make sure she gets that done.
Yeah, we'll do that.
All right.
So then let's do this, Ashley. Let's jump to VOST groups, VOST. One of the reasons we wanted to have you on was talk a little bit about this. But what is a VOST group, and why is this something that's really starting to be popular?
Yeah, so VOST actually stands for the Virtual Operations Support Team. And I guess apparently it was actually an emergency management idea. So somebody got in a room and came up with this idea that we can make a team of people to actually use social media to data mine or search through tweets and posts for damage reports, because we know human nature. If you get golf ball size hail and it's pelting your windows and it breaks through and it's all over your floor, they're going to take a picture and put it on Twitter, right? They're not going to call the weather service. So this idea has really kind of molded into this great team community aspect that the Weather Service actually picked up. And I heard about it in school because our local Weather Service office in Lubbock wanted to make a team. And so our job was to be trained on spotting and understanding basically what radar depictions look like, what clouds look like, how to be able to tell scud from tornadoes. So understanding all that. And then during severe weather, we would actually data mine. So you can actually go into Twitter and you can put GPS points because people have location tagged to their tweet. You can put the GPS, and then you can also look for posts that say tornado or damage, and you can search through everybody. And basically it will mine out all the data within the GPS point, within the range, with people who are talking about tornado or damage or hail or whatever. So our job was to search through those, find the good ones, make sure that they were vetted and actually accurate and they weren't, photoshopped or something. And then the team lead of the team would confirm it. They had an NWS chat account, and they would actually send that to NWS. So it helped them with their warnings. So if they saw, oh, look, severe hail, we don't have a warning out yet. We just got this photo, we can warn it. Or it helps their verification process because they still have to get those verifications for their warnings. So I kind of learned about BOSS through them. But then I realized as an emergency manager how important it is to have that as kind of like your eyes on the ground of what's going on. So I've used it for other kind of incidences too, just to monitor what's going on.
So what's part of the verification process? So when you say someone's responsible for looking through all this, verifying it's accurate, legit, all that kind of stuff, what's that process, and how does that sometimes delay getting that information out?
So like I said, all team members will sit through a training, usually taught by NWS, just going through, this is what a good reputable report and picture looks like. This is not a good report. And then there's actually a lot of really cool resources online called like TinEye or Google Images or reverse images or something where you can actually put those pictures in and it'll show you like, hey, this is a repost. Because we all know like there are those tornadoes that go around and it's like, oh, look, this tornado.
It's like a storm spotter class, only it's like a weather fool spotter class or something. How to spot the morons that are putting bad crap online.
Ashley, I was going to say, are you guys using any AI in that process, or is it just the regular programming? I mean, do you foresee in the future that being a job being kind of farmed out to AI? Or
I definitely could, because I actually worked with a professor in my department who he did that. He would data mine tweets based on code and then would do research on them. I think one was the movement of flu. So he took all the tweets with people saying, I'm sick with the flu, and then was able to take the date and everything and then put that in GIS, and it would actually show how it spread like, throughout the country.
oh, that's cool.
So I think that it definitely could be AI in the future. And I also think that there are companies that are charging now. So you can actually contract with someone who will work for you and do it for you. But I really think that being able to see it yourself helps with your decision making and everything else, and verification.
So I got to ask you a question about this, and maybe it goes in with what we're talking about at the moment, but it was actually from before. And maybe you can, and maybe you shouldn't answer this question. I don't know. But if it came to like a major hurricane or a major cyber attack, which do you guys kind of fear more? And again, if you're like, yeah, I don't really want to answer that, that's okay.
Well, I mean, I could just answer from probably a general emergency management perspective. I actually just saw an article on Twitter, and I don't remember who posted it or anything, but people in general actually fear natural disasters more than terrorism or cyber attacks or anything combined. So I don't know if that's kind of exposure, or like we kind of talked earlier, it's just it happens more often. For us, I guess I would be concerned about cyber because we haven't seen it often. So we're planning for it, and we work with resources from FBI and stuff, obviously, but because technology is so new, and then we have a lot of people too, it kind of varies how technologically savvy your EM is. It would be kind of tough, I would think, because even I don't really feel like 100% confident with trying to do planning for that as compared to like tornadoes. Because I understand storms, but coding and stuff gets tricky.
Yeah, but you know what Snapchat is, right?
Yeah.
So last question, what do you see as the future of VOST and how that can be used?
So VOST is just so great because, like I said, if you train your community, it gives your community opportunity to give back, and they're always wanting to do that. So you can get involved with your community, and they can actually help you, and it's a free option for you to get intel. So personally, like I would like to make a county team. So when I have an incident going on, I can have a representative in my EOC. They're pulling up reports. I'm seeing, okay, it is flooding there, or we do have a huge crash over there. And I can make my decisions faster based on this intel, because it's harder to wait and sit back for people to call dispatch or call the weather service, because people don't do that anymore. They kind of just go straight to social media. So
Right.
I think that there's so much growth, and I can't wait to see what we can do in Texas, because it's not too utilized here yet. It's kind of more on the coasts. So
Okay. Well, we always ask our listeners what they think of the subject, so go ahead and let us know. Email us at questions@stormfrontfreaks.com, or find us on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram and tag us your thoughts so we can share that on the next show. We're going to go ahead and take our final break. You can refill your drink, and when we come back, it's time to share some WX resources and find out how you can prevent weather fools.
That's a great look.
Yeah, I don't know. There's something wrong about that. Sorry.
Don't do that. Yeah, don't do that.
So that's not what I was. Yeah. I was trying to- Sorry. Okay. So Ashley, well done. Thank you.
Very
Thank you. Do you want to
Yeah.
stick around, or are you good for the night?
how much longer you guys got?
I don't know. It'd be like
right.
15 minutes. Maz probably won't have a weather fool or WX resource, so maybe
So we're
10
done
minutes.
too. Yeah.
I can hang out.
But if you've got a, you're welcome. So we cover two things: what we call WX resource, which might be piece of equipment, might be a website, might be a cool video, whatever, anything that's a cool weather resource. If there's something you want to add,
Or is like VOST online that you can that anybody can get to.
something that would work. And then we do what are called weather fools, which is highlighting someone that's done something stupid in dealing with weather. We throw people under the bus opportunity. So you're welcome to do that if you want, if you're sticking around, or you can just then comment on what anybody else happens to have. So
Yeah. So I have a
You good?
resource. Did you
Okay.
guys have you guys ever talked
Perfect.
about the NOAA EDD or ED?
That's like attention deficit disorder.
and that's
Tell them.
NOAA, NOAH, right? That's
Yeah, it's really cool. I actually met the guy. He works for the Weather Service, but he coded it, and it's a great platform because you have
Cool.
observations and everything in one window. So
all right. So yeah, you can cover that. So Maz, we'll come back to you out of the break. Introduce the segment. Ashley has one. I have two WX resources. I just figured I'd have to cover for some people tonight. Anybody
All right.
else with a WX resource?
I don't have a resource now.
Okay.
There we go.
There
right.
you go. Yes.
This is episode 55.
Oh,
Got
yes.
I didn't change that on my
Oh,
script
no,
there.
over
If you're
there.
looking at my script, episode 55 show notes, and then you're going to turn it over to MJ. Is going to do Weather Fools for Brady tonight. So he'll introduce that segment.
You have
I have two Weather Fools.
okay, Phil. Maz, no.
Yeah.
I have one. So
Do you?
I do.
Way to go, MJ. All
I
right.
let MJ have it.
And there's a theme tonight. So
Okay. Good. And again for Weather Fools, we can share screen on that if you want.
I was going to say I wasn't going to. I was just going to describe it.
That's
but
fine. You can do that too.
they can-
I'm going to share. I'll share my screen. And then when we're done with that, MJ, just take it into listener questions and responses.
right.
You probably got a few of those since
God,
you
I got too much
Mr.
to do
Roboto Mr. Roboto last.
Hey, Phil, I'll do this. I'll do Phil, Ashley, Phil, since you have two, okay?
Okay, that's fine.
I'll do both of. I'll just do both of yours if you're sharing screen. So,
Okay, that's fine too.
and then I'll do mine.
And then listener questions, and then I will close us up. Ashley, you good? Any questions?
No, I think I'm ready.
You waking up early?
Yeah.
You're Central Time though, so it's not too bad.
Oh,
Yeah, no, that's not too bad at all.
even the news is on
Hey.
at 10.
Hey, Phil.
Yeah.
We got one tweet from Aaron. Is it Flage, or do you know who that is? Aaron
No idea.
Flage.
No.
Or okay, about like mean tweets. So I thought
Just
maybe it
Aaron.
was something.
Just say Aaron.
I'll say Aaron. Yeah,
Aaron's listening right now, just to let you know.
could be.
We love you.
We do
Just not
for
sure how
sure.
to pronounce your last name. So.
Is it ERIN or
No,
AARON?
it's ERIN.
Okay.
All right, so MJ,
that
why don't you
doesn't
count
mean it.
Maz in? I will play the crowd applause.
Yeah. Okay. Here, are we ready?
I don't know, Maz, you ready? You're
I'm
muted. Okay.
Okay. Here we go. In 3, 2, 1.
All right. Welcome back. Time now for WX Resources on our episode 55. Resources, places you can go and find out new technology, new sites with information that's weather related. And we're going to kick things off first with Phil. So you have a new one for us today?
What I want to cover first off. So our last episode, number 54, that we had Janice Dean from Fox and Friends and Fox News was on, and she is also the author of Freddy the Frogcaster. We talked a little bit about that. I discovered this only on Twitter recently, and MJ is actually holding up one of the books.
Yeah.
There is, if you have an iPhone or iPad at the Apple Store, there is a Freddy the Frogcaster app, which is great for kids because number one, it gives you the forecast. So it gives you, I don't know, I can't remember, it was 3 or 4 days out, but Freddy gives you the forecast for your area. But there's also just some cool kid things on there. You can color. There's some coloring stuff. I think there's some puzzles or games you can play. But Freddy the Frogcaster has his own app, and I just thought that was fitting since we just had Janice on. So just if you have iPhone, go to the Apple Store.
Awesome. Thank you, Phil. All right, Ashley, I'm excited because I hear you've got one for us for tonight. What do you have?
Yeah, I do. So I just recently learned about this resource, and it's a NOAA product, but it's called NWS's Enhanced Data Display, or EDD for short. And it's still an experimental product, but it's really great. And I could probably actually screen share if y'all want. You guys want to see
go
it?
for it.
Okay.
Sure, let's take a look. Let's take a look. And Maz, that's NOAA, NOAA, not NOAA.
You make one mistake.
Just
you know.
wanted to double check.
All right. Can you guys see?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
can.
so basically this is kind of the platform that it is, and you can see everything from here. So it has radar, satellite, your hazards, which we don't really have much going on, but you can zoom out. You have tropical stuff. So there's tropical. What I really love is the forecast and then the observations that you can put on here. So like it's basically all of your data in one place. And my favoriteest thing about this is if your local office has it connected, you can actually see the model spread. So this is the model spread for, we're looking at Georgetown for maximum temperature. So you can see there's a low model spread for temperature here, but in between Sunday and Monday, there's a high spread variation between models. And you can actually see the models and the differences of all the models that the Weather Service looks at. So
That's kind of cool.
it's
That is
so, yeah, it's so cool. So this kind of has everything because you can even find your SPC outlooks out here too. It's great. So, and it's free. So I recommend using it. The guy that coded this is really nice and he works for the Weather Service up north. So,
And he's a
That's
billionaire, right?
Is
I
a
think he
government
actually-
billionaire, whatever that is, right?
I think he actually did this as a fun side project because you know a lot of those coders are kind of like that. They just kind of do it for fun. So this was kind of his side project, but it's amazing, and I really hope that it gets a little more push with people using it. So
Very cool.
For sure.
Did you have it almost looked like a tropical storm moving up like towards Baja. Was that real time from before, or was that something that was left over?
I believe
had it on
it
there.
is.
That's current.
Yeah,
Wow. Okay.
That's
I
current.
believe
Yeah,
it's the
there's-
one that just formed off down there. I can't remember its name. It's
All right.
B, right?
I don't remember the name
I don't
either.
remember either.
I,
Should
I
be.
do know it's coming up there. In the Pacific side of things.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ashley. All right,
Uh-huh.
Phil, you're like moving it. You got 2 tonight.
Well, so I do have 2. I just wanted to mention this. It's actually a Twitter follow that I recommend as a WX resource. And the guy is Stu Ostro. He's with the Weather Channel. It's at Stu, S-T-U, Ostro, O-S-T-R-O. And I just it's been mentioned before. I know his name's been mentioned before on our show. But I just recently have seen a couple different tweets that he's put out that just kind of made me go, wow, I haven't seen that before, or I haven't seen it analyzed that way before. There was actually one of the things he tweeted, Ashley, I don't know if you saw this, but there was colliding thunderstorm systems down in Texas where one was going west to east, the other was kind of going east to west, and they kind of merged. The one just kind of sucked the other one up and swallowed it, but he looked at it with a couple different radars, a couple different things. I was like, wow, that's cool. But it's also he did a great job of looking at it in a unique way. So I just think he'd be a great follow if you're on Twitter. That's at Stu Ostro.
Awesome. Thanks, Phil. And in case you anybody missed any of those sites, you can go and find them on episode 55, show notes of stormfrontfreaks.com in the weather resources. Okay, MJ, you've been quiet. Time now to talk about weather fools.
Oh, I've had a few things to say, but this is definitely Brady's favorite part of the show because he always says it is.
Yeah, that's true.
That is Weather Fools, and that's where we take a look at some people who maybe weren't as intelligent as they should have been dealing with the weather. So, Phil, I think you have a couple for us tonight.
I've actually got a couple. If you're really looking, it's never that hard to find weather fools, especially on social media. But both of mine tonight come from social media. One's going to come from Twitter, and I'm going to go ahead and share this with everybody. But it came from at Coach Floyd 33. So Coach Floyd, Floyd 33, and what he shared was he had a picture of beautiful lightning image from the beach or from his, from his deck overlooking the ocean. And it's a beautiful lightning shot. If you can see it, there's a nice stroke of lightning there over the ocean. But if you also look, there's the silhouette of 3 people standing on the beach watching the lightning strike.
Yes, there is.
And who knows? It would be fun to make that a meme or to play out their discussion, like what they're talking about while they're standing on the beach at night watching this lightning storm not all that far away from them. So that's my first one are those 3 people standing on the beach.
And the caption is, how does sand turn into glass on the beach?
Right.
That's right. Oh, that looked kind of close. The other one comes from Facebook, and it's Nathan Moore, who I believe, and I shouldn't say this because it's I think kind of deal, but I think Nathan Moore is a storm chaser. But he was out chasing a storm, and on his Facebook post, I'm going to share with you the video that he had. He was sitting in his car, and he said, yes, I'm sitting in a tornado warning, enjoying the moment when this happened. So I'll play the video. And they're watching the lightning in the background, and their headlights are on this dirt road. And there's this guy driving in his tractor, mowing the side of the road. And he says, balls of steel. Because this guy he doesn't even have lights on his tractor. He's just in the middle of the night. There's this lightning storm. They're in a tornado warning. And he's just mowing the side of the road with his tractor. So I don't know the name of the guy, but he is definitely my weather fool.
He didn't need headlights.
No, there's plenty of lightning to light it up for him. So very
So there you
good.
go.
Thanks. Oh, thanks, Phil. And we have a theme tonight because I actually, I don't usually have weather fools and weather resources, but I did have one ready tonight. And then I see that we got a couple of them that deal with lightning. And mine is one that you kind of have to hear, and you won't hear it if I play it. So I'll just tell about it real quick. But it's Daniel Modal from Djursted, Norway, and it's it's the typical thing. He's standing out in his backyard taking a video of lightning, which is great until the lightning strikes 5 meters away, and you will see debris fly across the front of the screen, and you'll hear it, and that's why you have to hear it. It's one of those that's visual but also audio. You'll hear it, and you'll hear his reaction to it, and it's pretty funny, except for the fact that he cheated death on that one, I think, because it was awfully close.
Is it family friendly audio?
It is, yeah.
Okay.
At least I didn't hear anything.
That's impressive.
Yeah, I didn't hear anything that was.
Does he
was
scream
bad, so.
or bark? I thought I heard a bark.
He did that. He did make that. He did make some sounds. Yes. But yeah. So anyway, so make sure you go to stormfrontfreaks.com, find the episode 55 show notes, and you'll get to see all these videos and see the reaction that Daniel has when lightning strikes extremely close to him. So that was our weather fools, right?
That's it. So
right,
and then
good.
it's you're up
So,
again.
yeah,
you got 2 segments in a row with our listener questions because last episode, and we edited this out, but your mic was giving you Mr. Roboto, Max Headroom, and you got to be old like me to know who Max
To know who
Headroom
those
was.
are.
But yeah, and Mr. Roboto.
Yeah,
you're
both.
right.
Those are lost on some folks. But yes, so I had a few audio difficulties last time. Sorry about that, everybody. We do have a few responses from folks. Frederick James, I think he works with East Central Indiana Skywarn, I believe. And they were doing a Facebook Live with a couple of people, and it was a meteorologist from one of the television stations, and he gave us a little shout out on their Facebook Live to stormfrontfreaks.com. So we certainly appreciate that.
Awesome.
Yeah, for sure. Jay Farlow, one of our friends, emailed us a resource suggestion. So that's something that you might find on the stormfrontfreaks.com site as well. Aaron tweeted, "Another great episode. Love the addition of mean tweets." So we'll have to bring that one back when we have some of the guests on. Jenny Pratt emailed us at info@stormfrontfreaks.com, and Jenny said, "Kudos to all the freaks for putting out the best weather podcast out there." Although,
I love them.
our along with Carolina Weather Group.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
But Jenny says, "Just finished binge watching the whole collection of episodes during my commute to and from work." Sorry about that from some of the early episodes.
You work in like Siberia? What the heck?
Exactly.
But as a weather enthusiast with not much of a science background, I have learned so much and had great fun doing it. So thank you, Jenny. And those are our listener comments for tonight.
Ashley, you don't ever get like mean tweets to you, do you?
No.
Yeah,
not
I
really.
would have struggled, I think, to find
Yeah.
mean tweets for Ashley. We're gonna have to save that for our national public audience. I think crew. I don't think that's something we can pull every show.
If somebody's mean to you, Ashley, you just move your county border and now they're not in your jurisdiction anymore.
There you go.
Yeah.
Easy.
Hopefully not.
All right. Well, hey, I think that just about does it for this episode of Stormfront Freaks podcast. Thanks for listening and watching. Before I share the reveal of our next guest, if you enjoy our show, please do us a favor. Leave us a great review on your podcast app. And don't forget to subscribe to the show. All you got to do is you just hit that little podcast app subscribe button that probably pops up on your phone. This works just like a magazine or a newspaper subscription. It just assures the latest show is going to get delivered right to your podcast inbox the moment we release it. So you'll be the first to get it. I want special thanks to our guest tonight, Ashley. Thanks so much, Ashley.
Very nice.
Thank you for having me.
For coming on. We definitely appreciate it. And our next episode in 2 weeks, we'll be recording on June 28th with Brantley Hargrove. He's the author of the book, The Man Who Caught the Storm, The Life of Legendary Tornado Chaser Tim Samaras. So we'll give him the Stormfront Freaks treatment because he has been on, I have listened, he's been on a couple weather podcasts, but he hasn't been on Stormfront Freaks
That's
yet.
right.
There we go.
So we'll give him the Freaks treatment. If you'd like to watch the recording live, it's at 9:00 Eastern, 8 Central on that Thursday. Just check out our YouTube channel by searching Stormfront Freaks.
What is the Freaks treatment?
If you don't know by now on the 55th episode,
All right.
you're still gonna be struggling to find that. But all right, so for MJ and for Maz and for Ashley, I'm gonna go ahead and signal the all clear, and we'll catch you guys next time.
See you.
Adios.
Good night. All right, Ashley, great job.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks,
you very
Ashley.
much.
Yeah, thank you so much. I had a great time.
Yep,
Good.
we had a good time having you on. Say hi to all the guys back at Carolina and tell them to have a Cinnabon on me.
There you go.
So,
Okay.
Ashley, so when Phil had said it's like 5-10 minutes, it was 20. Just
Yeah.
saying. For you, you had that look like, oh, how long?
I know.
Still
Sorry.
going,
Gotta go
to
still
sleep.
talking.
It's good. I think
Well-
actually our podcast doesn't get done until around now anyway. So
Oh,
And
okay.
when do you start? You start at
I guess we start around 7. Oh no, I guess this is longer because I guess we do start around 7:15. So we wrap things up around 8:30, but then we kind of talk for a long time afterwards.
Oh yeah.
So I'm kind of used to like 9ish, so it's not that bad.
all right. Well, we'll let you go. We appreciate
All
the
right.
time. Thanks so much.
Thank you
I
much.
will follow up with you, but we will. We typically post this on Sunday. We'll actually probably post it earlier this week. Might be Friday or Saturday. No, it'll actually be Thursday or Friday, probably.
Yeah, because it's Monday.
Yeah, because
I don't know what day it
so
is.
it'll get posted a little sooner. But I'll send you all the links and all that kind of stuff. So you've got that too. Okay.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much.
Cool. Have a
Thanks,
great night,
Ashley.
Ashley. Thanks.
Have a good night. Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.